Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. TerraPlex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from TerraPlex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with TerraPlex Ag. Visit TerraPlexAg.com.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Chris Williams, Brent Bloom. It's Williams and Bloom, presented by Mechdyne on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
What is up? Welcome to Williams and Bloom-ish. Gray and Brend and Gray, Jake and Rob, however you want to say it. I'm Jake Brend with Rob Gray filling in for Williams and Bloom on this Sunday. Full disclosure, we're recording on Thursday morning, so if anything crazy happens in the NBA Finals on Thursday night, we're not going to talk about it. But if the Pacers do win, Game 7 will be Sunday. I'll do it. If there's a Game 7, I'll be doing something on Cyclone Fanatic, so don't worry about that. But full disclosure, no NBA talk. Rob Gray, how are you, man?
I'm doing okay, Jake. I'm doing okay. It's been not the greatest weather lately. A lot of rain. I'm sure that bothers your golf game a little bit. I'm sure it's not doing too much to my walking because I'm an all-weather walker and outdoorsman of sorts. But it's nice to see the sun shining for sure.
It doesn't matter what weather's out there. Rob Gray's walking.
You're damn right I am.
You're going to be probably walking in some rainy weather out in Dublin.
Yeah, probably. So are you.
I know.
Unless you've got like your own little, like you're going to be enclosed the whole time.
No, I want
Jake-mobile.
I want the full Irish experience. If
full
it
Irish
rains,
breakfast, everything.
If it rains the entire time, as long as it's just not during the game, please not during the game. I don't like shooting games with a camera in the rain. It's not fun. But
imagine a lightning delay. The Cyclones play it abroad for the first time when we get lightning delays. What if it was South Dakota State a few years ago when they canceled it? The Big 12 opener.
We're
off to a rollicking start, Jake.
Xavier Townsend scores on like the third play of the game.
60-yard swing pass.
Oh man, we cannot put that into the world. That would be terrifying.
Yeah, we're easily the most hated version of Williams and Bloom that's been put out here lately. But no, we're going to talk about that and a lot of stuff as we pop in here. And I do not want to train the whole time, so I've got an itinerary set out. A lot of stuff: sea cliffs, beaches, interior, the Burren, national parks. We need some good weather in Ireland, Jake.
I am so excited for Ireland. That's actually what we're going to talk about today with football mostly. Not necessarily Rob and I's trip to Ireland. We might hit on that a little bit, but more so the logistics aspect of it. And Matt Campbell talking to NFL teams about them playing games in Brazil and Germany and England, wherever else they've played games. We'll get into that, but first let's thank our presenting sponsor, Mechdyne. Mechdyne. They're enabling discovery in Marshalltown. Chris Clover, and his team at Mechdyne have been sponsoring Williams and Blum for almost 5 years, is what C-Dub said the other night. Just a really good company, and they're always looking to hire Cyclones. I'm sure they'll have a couple of employees out in Dublin. I know they've got so many Cyclone fans working at that company, and we always appreciate their support of Williams and Blum and Cyclone Fanatic. All right, Rob. So you wrote this article a couple weeks ago during the tailgate tour about Matt Campbell speaking to Nick Sirianni, speaking to other NFL teams about their experience. Take me through what you gathered in your conversation with Campbell on that day.
Yeah, well, I mean, kicking out the tailgate tour in Ankeny, I just thought, it's smart to do that, because again, these NFL teams, it's never the season opener, right? Like in this case, a week 0 game, when a rivalry game with Kansas State in Dublin at in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, but it throws off their routine. And Matt Campbell, if anything, is a big routine guy. And when I talked to him a little bit on the side about that, he mentioned that. And so it was very important to him to figure out, because most NFL coaches are too. I mean, you don't ascend to certain positions that you're the leader of without finding a way to streamline your process. And part of that streamlining involves coming up with the routine and sticking with it. So this throws everybody off routine. But what Campbell's done, and I think what he's gleaned from those coaches and others in the administrative staffs, respectively, is that you want to stay as close to that routine as possible, or you come up with bits and pieces of a new routine that you then just deep six and get back into your regular routine, I guess, for week 1 in advance of the South Dakota game, the home opener. But it's not something I don't think gave a lot of thought to, just how it's like, I know the real Williams and Blum have talked about how it's weird to not think of this as like a bowl game.
Yeah.
Because, you're going to Ireland and this and that. But it is just a hugely important game. One of the most important games I think Iowa State has played. I'm not going to say, yes, one of, not the most, of course, because, of course, playing in the Big 12 title game supersedes this by a magnitude of several slots. But just for the season, it's very intriguing and it's very important. So it's good that Campbell and his staff are putting in a lot of extra time to figure out how to best address it, how to best treat it as, okay, it's kind of cool, we're all going to Ireland, but it's a hugely important Big 12 football game that we're coming here to win and not get knocked out of our comfort zone too much, except in a good way. And that was to me the most interesting takeaway from the start of the tailgate tour late last month.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me still that I have to get myself out of this. It's not an exhibition. We're going to be over there. We're going to be bar hopping, drinking Guinness, and there's going to be thousands of Cyclone fans, and it will feel like, oh, we're in Memphis, we're in Orlando, we're in Dallas for the Big 12 champion. Or I guess that's not a good example. That is not an exhibition. But besides the point,
somewhere outside of the regular season,
you're going to feel like a bowl game while we're there. And when the ball is kicked off at 11 a.m. Iowa time, it is maybe the most important game of the season. I'm going to wait until a couple more weeks before Big 12 Media Days to make my pick, but I've been leaning towards picking K-State to win the league. And if Iowa State could open the year with a win over them, it completely changes the season day one. And if you lose, then you're climbing an uphill battle before you've even played Iowa, before you've even played 2 more games before a bye week. So it is so crucial. And I'm just fascinated from the time change. I know football players are young. These are these 18 to 23-year-olds are in the best shape of really the top 1% in the world. So I don't think it'll affect them too much, but I don't know if we have it completely confirmed, but it sounds like the team will be leaving Wednesday and treating it like a normal game week. like they're treating it like they're playing at Utah, except leaving one day earlier than they normally would. And that's fascinating to me, that it'll just be, you go in, you'll probably have 1 or 2 practices in Dublin, maybe do a little bit of sightseeing at night, but you're not going to see the team going out to like an amusement park or having these huge events like it's a bowl week. And it'll be fascinating to see which or how differently both programs handle it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I would assume that Coach Kleiman would do about the same thing, that this is considered more of a really fun thing for the fan base. Mm-hmm. And the national exposure. It's always a featured game. Obviously, week 0, what do you got too? Then you throw in the fact that this has been a great rivalry, basically since Campbell took over. Yep. and sometimes before, through the years, the many years, but mostly dominated by Kansas State for a period with Bill Snyder. So I think it's the right approach. I mean, I think if you treat it any other way, you're completely throwing it. And one of the things Campbell said to me was, this changes everything about how you view the summer too. I mean, you're going to structure your summer differently. I mean, we're doing media day a full week earlier, right? So everything is sped up to an extent. And I think that's why it's not only an adjustment of, hey, we're 6 hours ahead, jet lag. It's an adjustment for the entire routine, which means the fact that Campbell was on top of that from the beginning means I'm sure he's got it structured out pretty well at this point. Everything they're doing with Reed Kagi and everything else. So I don't think, as for the youth, I mean, first time I went to Europe, I was upper 20s. I adjusted just fine. I don't sleep on planes very well, and I hardly slept, and I did fine. I imagined, let's just say I'm not as fit as say Rocco Becht or Xavier Townsend, Abu Sama, Carson Hansen, all those guys. But I was reasonably fit, and I don't think it will affect the game itself that much, other than the fact that it's a week 0 game. I think the interesting thing, and I think one of the reasons Coach Campbell's looking at it, is what happens after. How do you readjust and get ready for a really good FCS team coming to town? It's another very important game because, every year those really good FCS teams can sting somebody, and certainly have in the past. So definitely unique start to the season. I think if the Cyclones play well, it really bodes well for the rest of the season when you have the bye week spaced out throughout Big 12 play. You've taken away a Big 12 road game at K-State, even though the Cyclones have fared very well there in recent years. Just an intriguing game, not just because we're going to go there and have a vacation beforehand. And Iowa State Cyclones aren't, but all the elements: Farmageddon, week 0, big spotlight, what it means for the rest of the season, the ensuing 11 games. It's certainly a much unique start to the season. I mean, you could argue maybe the game at Arrowhead with Florida State, the Seneca was in deal, but then again, that's not being played in Dublin, right? I mean, so one of the most unique and interesting kickoffs to Iowa State season for sure.
I just looked. K-State is also playing the next week. So both teams they'll actually play the first 4 weeks of the season. And I guess, let me see this UCF game. Yep. So both teams will play the first 4 weeks of the season, get a bye, then jump back into Big 12 play. So that is the most fascinating part, because when they're over there, Iowa State and K-State will be on equal playing fields. They're both coming from the Central Time Zone. They're both in a spot for the first time, and it'll be a battle of who handles that better, and obviously who the better football team is. And then once you get back, you're not on an equal playing field to South Dakota. You're not on an equal playing field to North Dakota in K-State's case. It's how do you bounce back? And I think it's better that it's an FCS opponent and you're not trying to bounce back against Iowa, or in K-State's case, they play Arizona a couple weeks down the road, or even Army. So that'll help because, of course, for an FCS opponent to beat a Big 12 team, a lot has to go right. So they're already going to be a little bit one up on that end. Another thing that I found interesting in your article was that Campbell said sometimes getting out of his comfort zone is a good thing, which is something that you don't really expect Campbell to say that often because he is such a guy of routine. But we have seen several turning points in the Campbell era has been when he got out of his comfort zone, when he just handed the defense to John Haycock after that Akron game in 2017 and completely changed the course of the program for 5 years. He changed how the offense was run after the Ohio game, and they aired it out and just said, let's have Rocco throw 40 times. So this could be, not that the program is in need of a turning point. They won 11 games last year, but maybe Campbell will learn something from this experience and how he handles the summer to maybe start the season with an elite opponent. Maybe it could change things for the better in the future.
Yeah, and I think in Matt's case, he's been forced out of his comfort zone, right? I mean, COVID did it, and I'm sure, he hasn't talked publicly or even to me that much about this, but I'm sure at the time that was, I don't know if Matt Campbell ever wrings his hands, but that would be as close to a hand-wringing moment as there is, because your entire routine is out the window. You're only able to do what boards of health and other things are telling you can do. And the way I would say it adapted was to speak like I'm on the other side of the Atlantic, brilliant, because they again had very few situations where they missed a lot of guys, and weathered that storm really, really well en route to another trip to the Big 12 title game and the first New Year's Six bowl game. So in 2000, they played the game in 2001, right? But I mean, so I believe that Matt has learned, because I remember I wrote an article when they used to do the one-on-ones every summer with him about how he will eliminate as many decisions as he has to make on a daily basis as he can. This is another common thing for people going to things like Atomic Habits and a lot of this stuff. Get rid of all that stuff so the important stuff can occupy your headspace. Matt still does that, but I think he's understood. And one of the reasons he brings up a lot about how teams need to experience failure and all that stuff in order to grow. A lot of people talk about that too, but he's been, I feel like, a lot more vocal about that needing to happen over the last few years. It's just when you're forced to deal with something that you can't control collectively, the opportunities for growth in a team setting are immense. If it's by the numbers, okay, here we go, we got this, here's our bye week, here's this. Now you got to deal with, okay, well, last week they were able to really exploit our defense and run the ball effectively because we had some injuries at linebacker. This is a wholesale difference, and it involves changes in mindset and all this collective again, right? So I think what it forces, but also allows the team to do is get closer and get more on the same page. And COVID was a horrible thing, obviously, but in the case of Iowa State football, it was a great unifier, I believe. And it's just the situation. And this is nothing like that. This is fun. This is hey, we're going to go have some fun in Ireland. They're going to go treat it like this quote unquote business trip, however cliche that sounds, but it's going to allow them, I think, to bond uniquely in different ways and look at how they're preparing, maybe create a new process for that, and maybe that will serve them well in years down the road, just as their adjustments to all the restrictions they dealt with COVID did.
Yeah, it's fascinating as you said that. It feels like any time that Campbell's been forced to go out of his comfort zone, it's worked out. 2017, 2020, and the turnaround in 2023. I know when you look back 50 years from now, you won't look back at 2023 and say, wow, 7-6, that was a great season. But at the time, considering where they were and considering what 2022 was, and 21 for that matter, that was an incredible turnaround. And when you look at where have Iowa State's shortcomings been, feels like probably when things get stale and when that routine doesn't change. I know as the years go on, you look at that 2021 team, how did that team not win more games? How did they go 7-6? It was a group that had accomplished a lot, and things probably got stale, and you had a lot of fifth-year guys. 2019, they fired the entire strength staff after the season because things had gotten stale. So maybe coming off of a Big 12 championship season, starting the year with this completely new game overseas, maybe it's a good thing to switch up the summer routine. But we won't know until we're there.
Yeah, and we won't even know, as important as this game is, until deep into the season too.
Right.
Because we've seen seasons start off slowly for Iowa State and poorly, and they end up having great seasons. And we've seen them start off great. You referenced 2022. First 3-0 under Campbell, I think, and then you win one more game.
Yep.
I think the common thread, before I know we're going to shift gears here soon, but from 21 to 22 is they could not win close games at all, ever. So 2021, they lost tons of close games. I remember writing in 2022 during that stretch in Big 12 play where they couldn't win a game, and I'm not going to quote the stat because it wouldn't be entirely accurate, but it was unbelievable, like 1-10, 1-11. I guess I am trying. In like one-score games over a 2-year span or something at that point of the stretch or in the last.
A disaster.
And in 2022 forced Campbell out of his comfort zone with the now embattled, we'll call it, probe by the state into sports gambling and among Iowa State and Iowa athletes, apparently only. But at the same time, the routine stayed the same. It just knocked out your starting quarterback, starting running back, other starters, starting offensive line, and starting defensive line. But everything else was the same. So I don't think that was a true routine shaker. It was just a huge blow, right, to the roster the following season, which the Cyclones, responded to. But, I mean, just think of all the weird stuff that Campbell and his staff have dealt with in the last in this
Jacob
decade.
Park.
Yeah.
We didn't even think about going from Park to Kemp. That was
quitting. Yeah.
Or even going from Zeb Nolan
to Brock
Purdy. I feel like any single time there's been a change, 90% of the time it works out for Iowa State. And I don't know if you can look back on many coaches in the country or at Iowa State. Steve Prohm, anytime there was a change, I think it knocked the program back another level. And eventually, there were so many changes that COVID killed Steve Prohm's Iowa State career. It was probably going that way anyways, but it is fascinating. And maybe that part has been underrated or under talked about when it comes to Campbell. And we didn't even have that really written down to talk about, but I'm glad we got into that because it just shows how that shows how good of a program builder he is. I don't know how much that says about a a day-to-day
Yeah.
X's and O's college football coach, but it certainly shows the strength, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Rocco Becht and Dom Orange and players like that are still in Ames when
Cooper, yeah.
Yep, Jeremiah Cooper, John Tez Williams, or even back to Will McDonald and Xavier Hutchinson. It's not a coincidence that those guys all stick around, because what we just talked about, I'm sure we're just scratching the surface on what we know compared to what's in the room, and what's in the room in that football program is pretty dang special.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Jake. I mean, the proof is right there. I mean, in this NIL era, we know, and of course, the real Williams and Blum have talked about certain dollars being left on the table by people to stay at Iowa State. And people don't make that decision just because they quote unquote like it somewhere.
Yeah.
They make that decision because they do, or they and their people, their families, whatever, do a true cost benefit analysis, and they say, I could get X number of dollars more this season here, but if I stay at Iowa State at this number of Y number of dollars, how much better will I be off than strictly going by the number on the page or on my phone that I'm looking at, or it's being quoted to me? And for that to happen, and for that to happen repeatedly, it speaks to really something special in the staff that built. And again, as you said, we weren't going this way. I think one of the reasons it is that special is that response to adversity, that embracing of adversity. And there's never, as Coach Phil Fenley always say, no one ever feels sorry for us. Coach Campbell, that program epitomizes not feeling sorry for itself for anything, and looking at every roadblock as an opportunity. And again, this is cliche territory, but it's also, you played, college sports. I mean, every cliche is there's a kernel of truth. There's something to it, and when you truly buy into it and grow that way, and you bonded to everyone around you, it builds something that even Alan Lazard. I mean, the decision to come and all the way he talked at Iowa State, and when you watch guys on TV, the burgeoning amount of Cyclones in the NFL, the pride they talk about it. Brock Purdy. I mean, it's just has a ripple effect, and it's to put a bow on it. I'm just so excited to be in Ireland, handling the logistics of covering the Tuesday press conference while I'm somewhere at an Airbnb near Mount Patrick in County Mayo, doing some backcountry travel. But we'll all get it done, just like the Cyclones and Wildcats will get it done leading into that Week 0 game on August 23rd.
I can't wait. It's going to be great. That was a good conversation, and I'm sure someone who knows what we're talking about so much better than we do, Colin Newell at Farm Bureau Financial Services. Newell was in the room for all that. He knows Matt Campbell a lot better than we do, and he also knows finances better than we do. Go set up a meeting with Colin Newell. If you're watching on YouTube, his number and email's on the screen. If not, 515-964-5354, or Colin, that is 1L in Colin, .Newell, 2 L's in Newell, at fbfs.com. Thanks to Colin Newell for supporting. And if you do set up a coffee meeting, of course he'll talk about your money and all that, but you can also pick his brain on Cyclone football. We'd also like to thank Kelderman Manufacturing. I drive a 2011 Ford Edge, so I don't think I could go to Kelderman. But if you drive anything cool, if you drive any truck, or if we're just talking cars, he does a lot of other stuff. Go to Kelderman Manufacturing down in Oskaloosa. And finally, thanks to Cody Road Bourbon. Rob, so again, we're recording on Thursday. This will come out Sunday. So it's going to be a little dated by the time that this comes out, but this upcoming weekend will be my first weekend where I'm not taking vacation or working in 3 years. So I might indulge in some Cody Road straight bourbon, preferably the Cyclone Fanatic bottle.
Why not? I mean, there's never a bad time. I mean, I guess, yeah, maybe when you're working, it's a bad time. But yeah, definitely. That's wild for you, though. I mean, it must feel strange.
It's gonna feel strange. It's also gonna feel worthy of celebration. So I'm definitely gonna pour myself a celebratory glass of Cody.
You don't have to go out to a doubleheader between, a CML doubleheader, and shoot a long day of baseball out there. No offense to. I was driving by the North Side team. I'm a South Side Ankeny person, so Ankeny High. Driving by, I'm equidistant though between Ankeny High and basically Centennial. First Street is a dividing line. Driving by last night, after doing some errands, saw the Jaguars out on the field. I assumed they were playing because they were in uniform, but didn't see against two. I mean, those are fun events, but it's obviously part of the huge grind when you're local TV, or like I was when I was at the Register for a decade. A lot of preps as we spoke about with Chris when it was Williams and Brend. That's the grind. And it's very rewarding, but it's nice when you get that respite. It's nice when you get that respite where it's like, it's not coming at you all the time. And that's where I'm glad you'll find yourself in that space, but possibly with a little Cody Road in your hand.
I'm hoping there'll be some Cody Road. Get it at any liquor or grocery store around the state, and if they don't have it, just simply ask for it. Thanks to Cody Road for sponsoring Williams and Blum. Let's talk some basketball, Rob. First week of, I don't know if it's practice or summer workouts, whatever they want to call it. The basketball team is back. We got to see a few of the transfers in action in a very short video. Rob, you wrote a piece earlier this week with some player comps from TJ Otzelberger and Otz talking through these players. So we'll go name by name on what type of fit we think these players can be and what their skill sets are. Let's start with Blake Buchanan. I think he is probably the most likely to make an impact just off of the position that he plays. Comes over from Virginia. He'll have 2 years of eligibility, 5 points, 5 rebounds a game as a sophomore. Also averaged, I believe it was 2 blocks per game. Rob, what did TJ have to say about Buchanan?
Just high energy, elite defender, a big lob threat, and great passer. One of the things, of course, TJ looks for out of the post is to have great passing, and some of those guys developed it. Like Robert Jones developed everything.
Yeah.
It's to a high level, and some fans it still wasn't enough. There were still Robert Jones haters, but I never really understood because that guy epitomized Iowa State, and TJ talked about it, kind of epitomized the rise of the program. But you need that, especially when you set a lot of high ball screens and you're running through your big man a lot. So, I mean, prototypical body, right? I mean, you wonder why he doesn't crack the lineup more. I think he started a fair number of games for Virginia. I don't know if that's foul trouble. I don't know if he's banged up at times. And certainly last season, the Cyclones know about being banged up. But again, a prototypical type big man for TJ's system. And, his size, his ability to, he really talked up his ability to pass the ball as with Eric Mulder as well. Not as big, the former Pella Christian prep, they got via Purdue Fort Wayne, but it's going to be interesting to see what type of physical presence Buchanan has and how well he runs the floor because, we talk about transition for Iowa State. As the season went on, especially with Keyshawn Gilbert being out, they weren't as good in transition, obviously, especially in terms of turning turnovers into points. That was kind of hot and cold over the second half of the season. So you have bigs like him having an impact on that. It's remains to be seen. As you said, he hasn't marked the stat sheet up much, but in terms of the physical attributes and I think the mental attributes, they're thrilled and view him as an upgrade over what they had for sure.
Yeah, I think other than injuries, that was clearly the biggest reason that things fell short. But other than that, I just think the defense from the bigs was the biggest drop off from 2024 to 2025. Going from Robert Jones, who I think his most underrated trait was how he was able to guard the perimeter. I still don't understand how he's one of the best 7-footers I've ever seen at being able to guard the perimeter in the college game. He was so good at that, and that was not a strength of Deshaun Jackson. I think what I see from Buchanan in the film that I've watched, I see a little bit of that where he should be better in the pick and roll. And I think if that is better, I think everything else will work itself out on the defensive side of the ball because that's really all Iowa State needs their 5 to do. Would it have been nice to have Oscar Clough, a guy who could give you 20 a game down low? Absolutely. Not discrediting that at all. But I also don't think Iowa State needs that from the center position. And I think they've tried to bring that in a couple times with Oshun. He was a little disappointing. I don't think he was what fans completely expected. Deshaun Jackson was a little bit disappointing in that sense too. So maybe going with the defensive-minded 5 could be better overall for the team.
Yeah, no question. And I think Deshaun was very good at times as a rim protector. But as you said, extending was not his forte. And Robert Jones just did it by dint of determination. I mean, that guy I'm going to do it. I think Brant Shanfield actually was pretty good.
I agree with
perimeter
that.
defense. But obviously, he's not the starter, and he's playing 15 minutes a game, 12 to 15 generally. So Buchanan sounds like he's the whole package that way. And we've talked about, it's always going to be the underpinning, the foundational piece for TJ is that defense and what stems from that commitment to playing that type of stringent defense. And if you've got bigs that can do that, as you said, they need, and Milan Momcilovic needs to score more. You know what I mean? To develop his game more. We saw it at times last season. Nate Heisey, we saw how he came on. Nate Heisey could score 20 points any night. Taman, we know what he can do when he's healthy. The other pieces, Joshua Jefferson, the Swiss Army knife, can triple-double it. So they've got the offense that they need already in that core. And these guys are all complementary pieces. What offense they give you is great, but that's not anything close to what they're looking for primarily from Blake Buchanan or Eric Mulder for that matter.
Yeah, well, let's get to Mulder. So he's not your typical backup big, 6'8", a little smaller, which might not be the worst thing in the world, just depending on what position he's coming in to play off the bench. He averaged, at a much lower level, of course, than Virginia, 8.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, battled some injuries. He was also the most efficient player in the country per KenPom. I see Mulder as really the role that they've had Brant Chatfield in the last year. Come in, hopefully, 8 to 12 minutes a game, make your layups, finish around the rim, hustle, and make it difficult on the other team's big men. That's the type of role that I see from him, and it'll be a jump up in competition. There's no doubt. We'll see if he's ready for it.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly a motivated guy, as a native Iowan from Oskaloosa, and, getting TJ touched on this too. How many of these guys have they gotten who have gone the path? Now, it's not like Kurt Jones and some others where it was JUCO, mid-major, low mid-major, whatever you want to call it, to high major. But you go that path, okay, Purdue Fort Wayne is what I've got. I'm sure he would have loved to play for an Iowa State or another Division I team in the state, but it didn't turn out well. Now he's got that opportunity, right? So there's always that factor when you throw in a native Iowan as well. But it sounds like he's just cut from the same cloth as Buchanan, just not 3 inches shorter on paper. Athletic guy, rave about his ability to run the floor and pass the basketball. So not. He doesn't have the size, obviously, of a Brant Chatfield, but I think he's got maybe a little bit more of an ability to really get up above the rim. I think this is just an aside, and I won't go very long with it, but I think Brant Chatfield will, as years go by, people will appreciate him more. I think one of the reasons he's underappreciated is the way the season ended. A Final Four caliber team, no question. A team that arguably could have won a national championship before all the injuries and everything else happened. His offensive rebounding was off the charts. I mean, his rate was unbelievable. And again, I marveled a couple times in games watching him being mismatched on a guard via switching and forcing that guard to take a difficult shot instead of driving past him. This is a guy that's not all athletic. We know that. And a guy that just loved his opportunity at Iowa State. I mean, he was as aw shucks as you get about it. I mean, you were in the locker rooms with them. I mean, and just a little shout out. I think he was getting married this summer too. I don't think I ever snuck that into a story. But
he did get married. Yeah,
I
saw that on Instagram.
So, just a guy who loved being an Iowa State Cyclone. That it unfortunately didn't end the way everyone hoped that it would end, but that's how it goes sometimes. I mean, when you were talking, and when it's a one and done tournament, you can be among the best teams in the country and it doesn't go your way. But sorry for the long aside there, but I think he was. There are a lot of players like that, but underrated. I think in terms of some of his contributions in some big games for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll move to the guards. Dominic Nelson, Mason Williams. Really don't know what to expect from either of them. I know Williams dealing with some injuries, and we don't know what his status is right now or what it will be for the season. So we'll start with him. He was the first guard commit of the class. A better three-point shooter than Nelson, 34.5%. Comes from Eastern Washington. I probably should have added that. What do you see from Williams, and what did TJ have to say about him?
Yeah, I think TJ talked about him as a character guy, a good decision maker. I mean, exactly who you're looking for from a guard who could encounter highly variable minutes, and again, the health status, we'll see how that goes, but a good three-point shooter. I mean, a guy who I think could see that percentage keep going up, a la Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones is a big comp in a lot of these things for the, but just again, a guy. We could talk about the level of competition. Okay, it's Eastern Washington. Who are they playing? But when he and a lot of these guys played big time teams, they often have their best games, which tells you they've got that chip on their shoulder that DJ wants to see from guys. It's one of the things I think that he and his staff are looking for when they're plucking guys from the portal that are playing, at a lower level in terms of the week-to-week, day-to-day competition. And, so far it's worked out great. So we'll see. I mean, fairly tall, rangy guy. I think a guy that could really contribute. But again, when you've got the core Iowa State has from an offensive perspective, anything these guys give you on that end of the floor is gravy. They've got they're in the thick of it now, right? The summer onslaught has begun, and we'll see which these guys rise to the top. And it's not always who you think it might be, right? I mean, last season they really wanted it to be Noyes Indricitis, and it just gave him some extended looks, and it just wasn't happening. And all best of luck to him. Still a tremendous talent, but so it's never certain. But it sounds like he checks all the boxes for a TJ role player in the first season of the program.
2 years ago, we thought it was going to be Pav. We didn't think much of Curtis Jones heading into the year, especially at the start of the year. See, that's a good point. What I look at with Williams in terms of improvement, if you pull up his game logs, 35 points, 28 points, 20, 20, 21, but then he's also got a game with 0, a game with 6, a game with 7, a game with 4.
Gabe Kalsher.
Yeah, that's true. So you look at where
you could defend like Gabe Kalsher. Holy cow.
Well, where can he take a step up? It's probably that consistency. And again, when you're stepping into a program like Iowa State that has 50% of its scoring coming back, I don't really think they're going to need a guy to go out there and average 20 a game, but can you give them a consistent 8 to 12 per game? And I think what is really going to be needed with the loss of Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert is you're going to need one of Nelson, Williams, and Bateman to become kind of the guy at guard. Because Taman Lipsey doesn't want to be the guy at guard, and the team is better when he is the complementary guard, setting people up, playing awesome defense. And then you're going to need the flamethrower off the bench, which I think that'll probably be Bateman, if I had to guess. But you'll need either Williams or Nelson to step up. Nelson comes in as the WAC Player of the Year from Utah Valley. Pretty much same size, same build as Williams. He is way more of the completely attack the paint guy because he does not shoot the 3-ball well. 13th in free throw attempts last season, though. What did TJ have to say about Dominic?
Yeah, I mean those things in particular, but just a relentless downhill attacker. I mean, a guy who just gets after it, and that's how you get to the free throw line, right? And I know I guess I'll always say this: the real Williams and Blum when I'm referring to them. If you number of podcasts back, Blum had more advanced stats than just and it's something about how free throw rate or something he might have been tops in the country. I don't know if that's like per minute or however that's determined, but when you get that is a huge asset, obviously, for Iowa State. We've seen Joshua Jefferson get to the line a lot. We don't necessarily see Milan Momcilovic get to the line a whole lot. Came in some games, yes, some games not. I mean, so you add a guy like that who, can score for you when the clock isn't running. And again, 6'5" on paper at least. So like Williams, very, rangy, long type of guy. And maybe Eric Crawford can work some magic with them like he did with Taman Lipsey following his freshman season. Taman obviously notoriously banged up all of last season, and that certainly affected his shooting ability, but to fight through it like he did, that's Taman Lipsey. But Crawford made market improvements. If you could get Dominic Nelson to be able to shoot a decent 3-point percentage.
35%. That's like if you can get to that bare minimum of 34, 35%, that does so much to where you're not a go-to 3-point shooter, but if the other team has to respect you, does so much.
Yeah, I would say even if you could get him to 32, because wasn't he, 29, 28, something like that? I can't remember what it was. Then they at least know you can do it. And that's a pretty good jump, right? I mean, it's not a very good percentage for a guard, but it's good enough when you couple that with his ability to attack the basket and presumably defend. I mean, I think what's going to, again, injuries notwithstanding, what's going to sort it out for Williams and Nelson is almost said Williams and Blum, I think, is there's certainly different things are sorting them out. But it's just how well they can adapt to this level of defensive play. And if they both can, you throw in what that core, I mean, again, the ceiling is extremely high for Iowa State men's basketball this winter, for sure.
And that's not even mentioning Jamarian Bateman, who I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
So this is year 5 of TJ Otzelberger. And I don't know where this narrative started that who even cares about freshmen? They don't play, they don't produce, they just transfer. And I know why it started, and I guess I somewhat understand where that comes from, but I also completely disagree. Year 1, Tyrese Hunter comes in, he's the team's second best player. Everything after that, whatever happened, but there's no doubt that as a freshman, he produced. Year 2, Tamin Lipsey starts every single game. He started every single game but one since then and is on his way to being one of the best players in school history. Year 3, sure, Omaha Blue didn't work out, but Milan Momcilovic, pretty much every number shows that ever since he's been inserted in the starting lineup, Iowa State's offense jumped up 50 to 60 spots consistently. Year 4, you didn't have anybody hit, and that hurt at the end of the year. Noyes didn't hit. I'm blanking on the New York kid who didn't even make it to the season. You didn't have any freshmen hit. And I guess I get it from with Omaha and Noyes, it seems like, oh yeah, freshmen don't work. But I do think it's a little disingenuous to us for some fans to think, well, why should we count on Bateman, or why should we count on Mitchell or Torre, or when TJ's got a pretty good track record that at least one freshman each year has been a major, major contributor.
No, that's a great point. I mean, going back to Tyrese Hunter, I mean, they don't get to the Sweet 16 without him. I mean, they don't get to the NCAA tournament without him. And yeah, whatever went down. I mean, one of the early NIL shockers, I guess, before, was it even technically a thing? I guess it kind of, just infancy of this Wild West. But, and yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, Tamin to do what he did as a freshman. I mean, Milan's a lot of big shots in those games. I think one of those guys, and as you said, Bateman seems to be the guy, the leader in the clubhouse guy that you think is more game ready on both ends of the floor. But we've had limited exposure to all these guys too. So if one guy defends the hell out of everything, maybe works sensibly into the rotation quicker. I think I'm a big believer in what Nate Heisey can do offensively this season. But
you completely forget about Heisey. Everyone does it. We're all guilty.
What he did down the stretch last season, the percentage he shot from three, the big shots he hit, the fearlessness with which he shot versus early in the season, where you could tell he did not feel comfortable shooting the basketball, but really working on his offensive game. But for his defense to stay constant and really good through all that, and then for him to find his way. I mean, his ability to get to the rack and finish got really good. I mean, he and Jefferson and Momcilovic in particular, and Taman has his games, right, when he has to, in terms of scoring. But these guys could chain. I mean, I truly believe 20 points is nothing for those guys in the right situations. I think Heisey could truly be a 44% three-point shooter. I really do. I'm sorry, I'm going on a big. Maybe it was recency bias with them, but I mean, look at what he did offensively at UNI too when he was called upon to be more of a scorer.
You're completely right.
I mean, he's more than a wild card in this situation. I mean, he's a budding star as an older player. That's exactly what you want. You know, and again, a guy who can play the three, play the two. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent a little bit there. I did a little Brand Chatfield, now a little Nate Heisey, but I truly believe he has the whole package, and we saw that down the stretch last season, and it'll be really interesting to see how it translates into this season because, I mean, I truly believe he's got the body, he's got the wherewithal. I mean, he's not the most interesting quote most of the time, and that's probably a good thing for him. He's just all basketball. He's going to have a huge impact on whether the Cyclones can along with health, have the type of season that they obviously want to have.
Well, awesome. That was fun, Rob.
Yeah, it was good.
We got way in the weeds. That was awesome.
We did. I mean, brought up Brant Chatfield's wedding. I hope it's been blissful so far. You might have told me at one point where they were going to honeymoon. I can't remember where, but I'm sure it was someplace wonderful. So
Idaho.
Yeah, Pocatello. Is that it? Yeah, it was fun to be with you. You know, first time we're on camera together, on the mics together, as it were. Not the last, I'm sure.
Nope, we'll do a lot of this in the future. I can't wait.
Indeed. Can't wait for Ireland, all this stuff. Can't wait to meet all these transfers when we start doing those interviews. It usually start happening late this month. So lots to come, my man.
We need English to add some bagpipes to this Williams and Blum song. Just until August.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
I don't know if he plays the bagpipes.
More of a Scottish thing. It's more of a Scottish thing too, but I
yeah.
mean that's all right. It's all Celtic.
Awesome. Well, this has been Williams and Blum, or Brend and Gray, Gray and Brend, however you want to say it. They'll be back for real this time on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in on Williams and Blum Sunday.